been fascinated with the idea of time travel. It has been written about and brought to our TV screens through The Twilight Zone, Doctor Who, and Outlander. But are any of the actual claims of real time travel true or even possible? I'm going to look at the urban legend of Pan Am Flight 914. Was it an elaborate hoax or a time-travelling plane? So the story goes that a DC-4 took off in New York on July the 2nd, 1955, with 61 people on board, but never landed at its destination airport in Florida. It disappeared en route. There was no mayday, no sign of any distress. The plane simply vanished from radar. Air traffic controllers tried without success to reach the crew. They had to assume that the plane had crashed, but despite extensive efforts to find wreckage, nothing was ever recovered, nor any sightings of an explosion was ever reported, which was highly unusual. After many months, it was declared that the plane had most likely broken up over the sea, and the investigation was closed. However, 37 years later, new evidence emerged. It was May the 21st, 1992 in Venezuela, when air traffic controllers in the tower noticed a sudden and unexpected blip on their radar. One of the controllers tried to make contact with the approaching plane and was shocked by what he heard. The pilot said, "What's going on? Where the hell am I?" When he was asked to identify himself, he did so as Pan Am Flight 914 from New York to Miami, carrying 57 passengers and 4 crew. The stunned ground staff looked at one another in amazement as the plane was clearly well off course, 1,800 miles in fact. The controller continued to make inquiries as to what kind of difficulties the plane was experiencing and whether he was declaring an emergency, but he got no response. Eventually, when the pilot did respond to the question about his flight plan, he told an even more astounded controller that he was due to land in Miami at 9:55 a.m. on July the 2nd, 1955. The controller wanted to handle the situation delicately, as he had no idea of the mental state of the captain who was making such a ludicrous claim. So he told him that the date was in fact May the 21st, 1992. The captain began breathing heavily and rapidly, repeatedly saying, "Oh my God." The controller tried to reassure him and keep him calm to get the plane landed safely, while emergency services were deployed on the runway. As the plane got closer, it was visible in the clear skies. Eyewitnesses say the plane was old-looking in comparison to the modern jets and looked worse for wear. As the controllers were giving directions to the crew for landing, they could hear panicked screams from within the aircraft. It landed without incident, but as the emergency services rushed over, the pilot began shouting, "Do not come near, we are leaving." He started up the engines and swiftly took off again. Fearing that some insanity was afoot, fighter jets were launched to intercept the runaway plane. But as it did not appear on radar again, they could not locate it. There are 2 different scenarios to how this played out that has led to many conspiracy theories. One of the versions is that the plane once more evaporated into the sky and was never seen or heard of again, which would lend itself to it being a ghost plane rather than time travel. But the other version states that the plane actually landed in Miami a few hours later, the airport of its destination, only 37 years too late. In this finale, the passengers and crew all disembarked safely, but if a 37-year delay is not enough to confound, it appeared that all of them looked exactly the same way as they did when they embarked. They had not aged at all. Apparently, they were all questioned at length by government officials and eventually released but sworn to secrecy and their identity concealed. So is it possible that said aircraft entered some kind of portal? Snopes, the fact-checking site, investigated and found out that the original story came from a tabloid that did not have a great reputation for factual stories. It was called Weekly World News. The story appeared 3 times in their publication, and it was ground zero for all the other reports that circulated. On 2 of the occasions that the story appeared, the photo of the air traffic controller was of 2 different people, so Snopes declared it was a fake. However, is it possible that there were 2 photos because there was more than one person in the control tower? I personally know that Snopes is not that reliable either, as when they investigated my story, they published a couple of substantial errors. Of course, that doesn't make the story of Pan Am Flight 914 true. More recently, a Malaysian flight disappeared, also without a trace, and to this day they do not know what happened, apart from some debris which turned up a few years later, which is thought to have been from that particular plane. Planes can and do disappear. There are many more in the Bermuda Triangle, but no others have reappeared as of yet. The only person ever to come forward claiming to have been on that trip as a young boy was quickly dismissed as being not of sound mind. So does the government know that time travel is possible? And why are they covering it up? Was it a ghost plane or an entire work of fiction? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, please give us a like or a share. We'll be back here at the Virtual Fireside at the same time next week.